What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Saturn in Scorpio in the 12th house. I've been getting a lot of Saturn rolls here recently. But when we talk about Saturn, Saturn was known as the greater malefic in traditional astrology. And Saturn may bring about limitations, constraints, restrictions. Saturn teaches us how to be disciplined, and the nature of it is to help us to endure. And I find when we work with Saturn, Saturn can bring about us just show us how resourceful we can be, but it takes patience when we're working with Saturn. Saturn is one that definitely takes time in order to get to that sense of accomplishment. But man, does it feel good when you work with Saturn. And then when you talk about Scorpio, the traditional ruler is Mars. So there's that active energy, that drive with Mars. But interestingly, their modality one is fixed. And the fixed signs have this way of sustaining, of a lot of staying power and perseverance. When they lock on to something, they're going to see it through. There's a lot of focus that happens with them. And then their element is water. And so we're getting into the emotional space. This could be the psychic, intuitive energies that come with the water energy, empathic energy. And then you talk about their gender, which is feminine, and that is going to be more receptive. And so when you combine that, Scorpio is a very, very sharp sign, very intuitive. They can sense the undercurrents and things and notice the things that are not being said, the little subtleties in life. And so, yes, Scorpio is one, again, and with that Martian energy that's fueling that, they have this way of just being able to, I feel like, transform these emotions. But the thing with Scorpio is that you want to be mindful about getting stuck in those emotions. And when you notice that Martian energy is there just to help get to change to, okay, I'm feeling this. How do I get to the opposite end of that? How do I change this and transform that into something more positive? And then speaking of which, we're going to definitely need with this placement, because then we get into the 12th house. The 12th house was known as the house of bad spirit. And this is the house, interestingly enough, where Saturn finds his joy in, and where he kind of celebrates in. And this was known, the topics that this house covers can be chronic illnesses, it can be misfortunes, enemies in the sense of that I feel like it's talking about more so the enemies that are in our head, possibly, when we're getting into that inner critic. It can be the house of toils, tribulations, isolation, suffering, all those lovely things. And when I talk about, I always like to preface when we're talking about like the 12th house, the 8th house, the 6th house, things like that. I have a 12th house sun in Cancer, so I'm very familiar with 12th house things. And I have the South Node there as well. But when we're talking about this combination of stuff, one, you'd have a Sag rising by whole sign. Two, you'd want to look to see where Mars is at. What condition is Mars in, and how is Mars witnessing this house? That's going to be something that's very important. And when we're talking about with Saturn, you want to look to see what sect your chart is, whether you have a day chart or a night chart. Because in a day chart, Saturn's going to work well, as opposed to a night chart. There's going to be a lot more challenges that come with that energy. And then something to keep in mind of as well is that Saturn is going to be responsible for your second house, which is the house of your money, your material possessions, your livelihood, your resources, and your third house, which can be the house of siblings, family, relatives, your community, short travels, and communication, things along those lines. So combining this placement, one thing I could see this happening, or what I could see coming up, is maybe needing to exercise kind of strong boundaries, as far as maybe you were the type that tends to give a lot to your family, or maybe to your sibling. Maybe you were, maybe the family maybe you're one that they tend to like, hey, can I borrow some money, or hey, can I utilize your time for this, or hey, can you give me this, and then I'll get this back to you, and then that never comes through. Or maybe this could be the house of friends. So maybe you have the same thing. Maybe you have like these fair weather friends that they tend to be there for you, like there's this attachment there, you really love them and all these things, but then when things are tough and you're going through some stuff, then you find yourself alone and needing to deal with things yourself. And so this may be something where you need to create your own sense of community, or maybe you found yourself a lot of time alone to be in these emotions. And I would say when we're working with 12th house stuff, and because again I have 12th house placements, and anything to, and especially in like I feel like in a water sign, anything to help you move through these emotions, looking at various therapies, whether this be art therapy, maybe you needed to do some sort of like physical therapy possibly, or maybe this is I'm a big proponent of, if you need to look into any sort of just like talk therapy, maybe working with a life coach, any sort of thing to help you when you find yourself in those kind of darker places, or maybe dealing with those kind of those harder kind of those when you're just kind of going through it, having those resources there. Because what I feel, and listen, this the purpose of this is the 12th house is not where it can be, it's considered the worst house, but the thing with it is not that it's just meant to be where you're just in the suck of it. When you learn to work through these emotions and work and pick up these different tools and things to process this stuff, there's a lot of wisdom that comes through this, and you end up finding you get more insightful and get more discerning about those who may be just coming in to just kind of take things from you. You can catch the signs a lot quicker. You can get into communities that support your growth, that promote this healing, this love, this stuff. And I find that it does help you to not just be able to just give, but be able to receive that help as well. Because maybe you just felt like you couldn't ask for help. Maybe you felt like, again, you just always needed to be the strong one that needed to support all of these things and just to shoulder everyone's burdens. And in a water sign, you can take on a lot of the stuff of, and I feel like especially Scorpio, that energy can take on a lot of its surroundings. And so taking some time too for yourself, maybe if like if you're just around people all the time, just having a space where you can just recharge. And that could be just like going out for walks in nature. Maybe I find listening to water, especially like I find like a river is something for me personally. You could listen to an ocean or I guess lakes make sound. But I found listening to just like running water or something along those lines can be very, very helpful for you. Maybe having like a fountain or something in your space, or just something where you can have just a space to be alone and just kind of just be with yourself and just see what is it that you've taken on, doing some meditative practices, anything along those lines. I feel it could be very beneficial for you. So I don't, when I talk about these topics like 12th house, 8th house, 6th house, I don't speak on this stuff lightly. And and again, I'm speaking very generally when I'm talking about this. So if that's something that you are having troubles working through and you're wanting to talk with someone who gets it, down in the description box below, I have a link for my different services that I do provide. And, I can share some of the tools that I've utilized that have helped me over the years, because I was in it for quite a while. I have a lot of fixed energy in my chart, and that 12th house sun rules my loaded first house, because I got 4 planets in my ascendant there. So yeah, I was in it for a while. So it's but know that there is another side out of it, and it just makes you tougher from it. So but yes, all that is available for you. And if you're wanting to work with lunar shenanigans or work with the moon, that could be another great one to work with. Down in the description box below, there's a link for my channel. And if you feel comfortable, share this in the comment section below. What are some things that you maybe not even sharing your story, but just like that could be very beneficial. But maybe even just like sharing what are some things that you do when you feel your 12th house is being activated, or how you've been dealing with 12th house things and such like that. But until next time, keep raising that consciousness and that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one later.